Hey, what's going on, guys? It's BrainBean here again. I used to do these switch comparisons all the time, and it's something I definitely want to try to get back into. So for this video, we're going to be taking a look at the new linear Romer G switches, and we're going to be putting that head-to-head with some of Cherry MX's linear switches. So the switches that I'm going to include in this video are the linear Romer G switch, the classic Cherry MX Red, Cherry MX Speeds, and Cherry MX Silent switches. So we're going to start it off by just going over some of the specs of the switches. Now, the linear Romer G switches have a 1.5mm actuation distance with a total travel distance of 3.2mm, and it has a 45-gram actuation force. Now, the Cherry MX Speeds have a 1.2mm actuation distance with a 3.4mm total travel and a 45 grams actuation force. The Cherry MX Reds have a 2mm actuation distance with a 4mm total travel, also with 45 grams actuation force, and the Cherry MX Silent switches are just a little bit shorter than Reds with a 1.9mm actuation distance and a 3.7mm total travel with, again, 45 grams of actuation force. So just by looking at the specs alone, you can see that the Romer G switches kind of split the difference between the speeds and your classic mechanical switches, but we'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the video. So going into some of the pros and cons about the Romer G switch and Cherry MX right now, one thing you'll notice is that kind of the craze right now is the exposed switch kind of floating key design mechanical keyboards. And with the Cherry MX RGB switches having that clear switch body, it gives you a really cool ambient light glow effect across the entire board. It also just looks cool having those clear switches light up and being able to see that. Now on the flip side of that, the Romer G switches don't have any light spillover at all because they're designed with that kind of light pipe design. So you have unimpeded light coming straight up through the keycaps, which means that the characters are going to be super bright. I think Logitech's RGB keyboards probably have the most saturated, fully bright looking characters. However, there's zero spillover on the keyboard because of that. Now, this could be a plus or minus depending on your aesthetic preferences. If you don't like having a lot of spillover all over the keyboard, but you still want a nice solid RGB experience, then the Romer Gs are definitely a good option for you. But if you're someone that wants like that crazy RGB light show, well, then I think you're probably gonna still wanna stick with Cherry MX RGB switches. Another thing that's really important to consider when you're looking at Romer G versus Cherry MX is that the Romer G switches have a proprietary design, which means that if you want to change out your keycaps with some custom ones or different colors or something like that, it's pretty much going to be impossible unless you can find someone that makes Romer G compatible keycaps. On the flip side of that, Cherry MX keycaps are pretty much the standard these days, so you can find just about any color or style or even get custom ones printed and made for you that you can customize your keyboards. So if you're someone that wants a little bit more customization, then Cherry MX is probably going to be the way for you to go. Now, I want to go ahead and switch over and do a back-to-back sound test of all of these keyboards for you guys, and after that, we'll talk about how the linear Romer G switches perform in comparison to Cherry MX. So now that we've got that out of the way, I do want to go ahead and just get into how they actually feel. For me, I really like how the linear Romer G switches split the difference between the speed of the Cherry MX Speed switches, but are also still a little bit faster and have a little bit shorter travel time than your standard Cherry MX Red switches. Another thing that I really like is that because Romer G switches have virtually zero key wobble, again because of the way that they're designed, it gives you a really buttery smooth experience when using those linear switches. Now sure, Cherry MX switches are also pretty solid, and when you compare them to more budget switches or Razer switches, for example, they have much less key wobble than those do, but compared to the Roamer G, there's just no comparison. The Roamer G switch is rock solid, which gives it just that ultra smooth feel. Now, as for which one is ultimately the best, again, this is going to come down to your personal preference. If you like a faster switch, or you like a much longer travel, or the customization factor, or any one of the things that we've talked about in this video, that's really what's going to make it the best switch for you. Again, one thing I always recommend when trying to figure out a mechanical switch, before you drop 150 plus on one of these mechanical gaming keyboards, do your best to get your hands on them, whether it's at a Best Buy or a Micro Center or a Fry's. Ordering switch testers on Amazon for like 10 bucks is definitely worth getting to know for sure that you like the feel of it before you drop that kind of money. So something like that, try it out for yourself. I really think that is the best option. Well, that's it for the comparison video, guys. You know, I used to do these a lot more often, and I think I got caught up in just doing regular reviews. So I am going to try to start cranking out more of these switch comparison videos, because I've got a closet full of just about every type of mechanical switch, and it just makes sense for me to help you guys out. If I can kind of talk about some of the pluses and minuses of different switches, I'm more than happy to do that. In this format, creating videos like this is much easier and way quicker than my standard reviews. So I think I can definitely supplement my regular reviews, get more content out there for you guys by getting back to the comparisons. Well, that's it for the video, guys. If you enjoyed this one, again, give it a thumbs up to show your support. And if you're new here on the channel, I'd love to see you stick around and subscribe, because I've got a ton more videos like this one coming for you in the very near future. Again, if you're interested in the Roamer Gs and you missed my last video, which is the review of the Logitech G513 Carbon, I'll have a link to that one down below in the description. It's got these new linear Roamer Gs and the tactiles available in it. And if you want to check that out, give that video a watch. It's definitely a really cool keyboard. Well, that's it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.